Masonry to me means helping my fellow man.
It's the bonds of brotherhood that allow us not only to develop friendships for life, it's the charity and the philanthropy of Masonry.
It's a personal journey. It's a private thing for me.
If I were to say what Masonry means to me in one word, I think the word I would use is loyalty.
It has given me working tools, an avenue to follow, guidelines that has structured my life.
Being a Mason is really about character, doing good just because you see that good needs to be done.
It's made me certainly a better man. I kind of wonder where I'd be if I had not become a Mason.
Becoming a Mason was like a lifelong dream for me. Moving around in the military for 25 years, this is something that I saw my papa do when I was a young child, my cousin do while I was in college, and I've never had the opportunity to be able to be in a position to do it like I have in the last couple of years.
I'd always wanted to be a Mason. Ever since I was a child, I've always watched my dad go off to these Masonic events and stuff, and it's always extremely intrigued me.
Being a Mason has given me the privilege of becoming friends with good men. It's given me opportunities to overcome any burden I've had in my life. It's given me the strength through Brotherhood to be able to deal with any situation that any man would have.
I'm totally aware I'm in a select group of individuals that are with high morals, and that's the group I want to be in.
It's the only place where all men can come together as brothers. I've sat in recent lodge meetings with brothers who were Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Jews, all in the same meeting.
Being a Mason to me, of course, is being a better man. This has affected my personal life with my family, my business life with all my coworkers, my friends.
Masonry, why did I join? Because I had it right here.
My dad was a Mason. He grew up in the Depression when times were really tough. He was assisted during his childhood by some prominent Masons in the Big Spring, Texas area where he was a native of. They assisted him, and it made a big impact on him. I joined the lodge shortly after my 21st birthday. I joined because of the strong impression that Masonry through the years had made on my father and the influence that he had on me.
Growing up as a little kid, we always knew that my grandfather was a Mason and my grandmother was heavily involved in the Eastern Star. They didn't talk about it much, so we really didn't know what it all entailed. The one thing that we did notice all the time was my grandfather was always going out and helping the elderly people around the community. You name it, and he was always going to some elderly lady's house to do repairs that they just couldn't get anybody else out there to do or couldn't afford to do themselves.
A little bit about my background. I am from Dallas, Texas. I was born and raised by my mother, and she actually brought me here, I would say about a month after I was born. And so I was a patient from 1 month old to 18. And really, truly, like a lot of the men that I've met through the hospital, just growing up, I really admire them. I look up to them, and I still do, because they set such a great example of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a role model. And there's just so much wisdom, so much character, I think, that comes from the men that I've encountered at the hospital. And that was another reason I really wanted to become a Mason.
Well, I became a Mason mainly because the influence my mom had on me. My dad was a Mason up in New York, and he was killed when I was a year old. And I never really understood what a Mason was, but my mom was always telling me what great people Masons were. She told me that when my dad was killed, the Masons were there to support her. They made sure that we were provided for. They did make sure after my father died that we did get Christmas presents and and they were very supportive of the family. And every time we go by the Masons Lodge, driving by, it was on a main road, my mom would say, "That's where good men meet, Tommy." And she always wanted me to be a Mason. And just I never really had time to do it until I moved out to Mount Vernon. I met a few Masons who encouraged me to apply to become a Mason, and that was a dream come true for me. I became a Mason, and my mom was really excited that I became a Mason.
Ever since I was young, I've always been pretty fascinated by history. I've always taken a pretty serious interest in history. And I would notice that a lot of American historical figures would have a common denominator, and that was Masonry. And then I look into Texas history, you know, our own history here in Texas, and so many more of those guys were Freemasons. Sam Houston, Travis, Crockett, Seguin, Jim Bowie, Bonham, all these guys were all Masons. And I thought to myself, like, what is it that these guys know, or what is it that these guys are a part of that they love so much that causes them to do great and wonderful things for our country? I've been blessed to meet and get to know brothers in Lodge that I would have never have had any other opportunity to associate with. Just the fact that I'm able to meet with guys that, you know, I'm 26, you know, when I joined I was 20. Just the fact that I'm able to talk to guys that are 40, 50, 60, 70. We have some 80-year-olds in Lodge. Just the fact that I'm able to talk to them on a level playing field, you know, I think is pretty neat.
I think Masonry is a very moral organization. It's kind of like a fraternity, and when you join a fraternity, it becomes just a part of you. You take some obligations that, if obligations mean anything to you, then these obligations are going to affect you. And I think if you're a true Mason, you're not going to break those obligations, but they're going to stay with you the rest of your life.
When I was young, I was helping my father build a porch. And he would show me how to use a level and a plumb bob and how to square out the porch. And he was telling me one time about what a square was, and it being the fourth part of a circle. And I never really understood the significance of it until 4 years ago, when I became a Master Mason.
My dad was an active Mason. My grandfathers were active Masons. We, you know, participated as a family and everything. Sometimes there were family functions and sometimes there weren't, but they were always family weekends. It wasn't just about him. It wasn't a time that he was gone doing things. We were all participating in one way or another.
We have picnics and family days. As a matter of fact, just recently we had a family day, and a lot of the widows showed up to eat, and we had some activities. A lot of kids came, and we just kind of socialized for a couple hours while we were eating. It's just a fun event on a Saturday afternoon.
I'm an active duty lieutenant colonel in the Army, and I've traveled, lived all over the world, places like Hawaii, Illinois, Kentucky. And moving so often in the high readiness op tempo that we've had for the last 10 years, I haven't had the opportunity to be in a position where I could commit to anything. So I got assigned to Nacogdoches here to the university, knew I was going to be here for 3 years. But at that point, it really wasn't crossing my mind until I ran across a gentleman at a basketball game by the name of Bud Nettles. And Brother Nettles and I got to talking because I saw his ring. And that kind of led to the introduction with Brother Wiggins, who later presented a scholarship to my students, which I didn't know at that time they do every year. And that relationship led to some discussions where I asked Brother Wiggins, could I learn more about Masonry?
Since I've joined, I've been a little more outgoing and been able to, at first I was not able to speak in a group at all.
When I first met David, he was a very shy individual that you wouldn't even know was in the room when you walked in, because he just didn't interact with anybody. And when he came to me and said, what do you think about me going into Mason? I said, well, that'd be great. You know, you'd be able to meet new people and explore your abilities. Well, little did I know, not only did he have those abilities, but he doesn't know how to say no.
My wife is totally 100% behind me on all Mason work that I do. And sometimes I am out during a week 3 to 4 times a week, and she never questions what I'm doing. She knows where I'm at, She knows the group of people that I'm with. She never worries about me.
I have met some fascinating people, interacting with them at the different dinners and the social fundraiser events.
I started looking into Masonry about 30 years ago, but I didn't really do it until 9 years ago, and I'm glad I did. I was a football player playing in shrine football games, saw a bunch of Shriners, didn't know what the background was, and found out it was Masonry, and I had to wait a little while because I just did not have the time to dedicate for it. And once my daughter went to college, I decided to go ahead and take the plunge. I'm glad I did.
My father is a Mason, as well as his grandfather. And on my mother's side, my grandfather and his father as well. And we were able to trace on my father's side Masonry all the way back to a man named Samuel Damon, who was here during the Republic of Texas. So he was a Mason during the Republic of Texas here. I know that as I grow older, that I can always rely on my brothers to, when I am not well, that I can rely on them to help me out. And as well as them, when they're not well, they can rely on me. And just to have that thought it's sound.
The aim of Masonry is to take good men and make them better. And I feel Masonry has done that. It's given me a chance to meet a lot of people that I would not have met otherwise. People of different backgrounds, some of whom I may not have sought out. But yet, through the experience, the shared experience of Masonry, it's helped me as a man and as a person to grow and to mature in my faith and in the Brotherhood of Masonry. It's an experience that every good man needs to experience in his life.
Being a Mason goes very deep with me because at the age of 6, I was taken with polio. I remember coming to the Scottish Rite Hospital, of course, scared as you could be at a 6-year-old child. And I remember being in bed most of the time. I was very drawn, couldn't walk, couldn't anything like that. And each day I would receive hot packs of these big wool blankets where they would come in and work with you and put these big heavy wool blankets on you. And they were hot. They would be real hot. And it was always a big thrill for them to come get us in our beds and roll us down to the auditorium where we got to watch a movie. So it was always, I don't remember any pain from anything like that. They took care of us very well. They were very kind. They were very accommodating to my mother and father, who would travel from Idlewood, Texas, near Lubbock each week. So from all that, I feel I have had a life of Masonry.
My son, Master Sergeant Stephen Daniel Blackman, is in the Air Force, and he's in the Special Forces Division of the Air Force. They go in downrange, out of the wire, into danger close situations, along with the Marines and the Army. He asked me to become a Mason a while back, and finally we were able to get him to become a Mason in Norfolk, Virginia. He belongs to a lodge called Transportation Lodge in Newport News, Virginia. Anyway, he returned home from being overseas, and he developed a severe lung infection. Basically, we were told that he would not survive. I was in Newport News there at the hospital and was told that within 12 hours my son would not be with me anymore. At that point, we contacted the Transportation Lodge in Newport News. I had been talking with Tim Terry, my senior deacon at that time at Montgomery Lodge. A grass fire support broke out in Masonry unlike anything I could have believed. It was amazing. People don't realize there's that many Masons in the military. We had lieutenant colonels and colonels come to our assistance who were brothers. We had a general in Europe who called. We had a bird colonel who flew the new fantastic F-22s come to the hospital. Prayers were abundant. It was almost as if a miracle was happening in Masonry. That afternoon at 3 o'clock, the Portsmouth Naval Hospital, the primary urgent care hospital for wounded veterans, arrived at this private hospital, whisked my son out of that hospital, and within 48 hours had saved his life. 8 weeks later, my son was walking home. And there's no doubt in my mind, oh, and I almost forgot, during that time, the things that my son needed medically at home showed up at the door. A $1,000 electric recliner, because his whole left side had been cut open, he couldn't sit up or down, was provided. All the medical equipment provided. The house was cleaned by Masonic wives. Nothing was lacking at all because of Masonry. And sir, for all the good and bad that we have to endure personally and socially in Mason, on the Masonic history, I've never seen such a miracle event of the craft. And this is not made up. I truly, truly hope no one has to experience this. But on the other side, wow, what a miracle. And this is why I love the craft, and this is why I want to work as hard at it as I can and serve in any way I can. But it was a miracle of Masonry.
The way McAllen Lodge gets involved with our community at home is that we regularly give out scholarships on a yearly basis. We regularly have blood drives, coat drives, and we're even getting involved with our Chamber of Commerce to get even more involved with town, just to have a better idea and better ear to the ground as far as what's going on in town.
At Chalk Mountain Lodge, we do the motorcycle fun run the third Saturday in September. And we do the Take Time to Read program, which is through the Scottish Rite Hospital. We do the Fantastic Teeth program, and we participate in the 67th Masonic District Melvin Kinsey Memorial Blood Drive.
As worshipful master of our lodge, I decided that we would dedicate the year to breast cancer awareness. And in keeping with the spirit of what Masonry entails, we took on the breast cancer fight as our charity that we would focus on for the entire year. We designed a lapel pin, which we gave out throughout the year, only asking for donations in return. We raised a very large sum of money, which we were able to give to the American Cancer Society in the name of Our Ladies for the fight against breast cancer.
And this year, we are doing Support Your Troops.
We switched from a pink ribbon to a yellow ribbon for all the wounded warriors. And so we're involved with the Wounded Warrior projects. And, anywhere we can, we go out there in the community to help support them as best we can.
Last year, we put about 50 Masons on a bus. We drove to Dallas, and we visited the Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children. And we donated about 300 stuffed animals and approximately about $5,000. It took us a year to do that. But we went into the community. We didn't just bring them home. We didn't put it in a box in the lodge. We went out in the community, told them what it was for, and got a fantastic response. That's one of our proudest moments last year.
Each year, the lodge presents a $1,000 scholarship to one of my ROTC cadets who's going on to active duty. The criteria is very high. They selected I get to pick the student, but they have to have a high GPA in the top 25% of the class and pursuing a permanent career in the Army.
One thing Knox Corinthian does is they award a patient from the hospital, from Texas Scottish Rite Hospital, that's a graduating senior with a scholarship. And this was my first year actually participating in the Lamar Award, learning about it. The young lady that we presented the award to, she said something to me, and I think this really stuck out to me. She said it was the first time she had ever won anything. And to me, I think that's really important because I think it makes a statement or it's a testament to how just a single investment in somebody's future, giving them a chance, or helping them to achieve their dreams. I mean, it can literally change someone's life, someone's perspective. And so she's off to go to school to be a kindergarten teacher. And, I feel like that's just one example, but even the golf tournaments that we do, the fundraisers, the raffles, other events that we do that allow us to get together, but also to raise money. You use them. It's not necessarily about raising the money, but it's about how you use it to make a way for someone else.
During my year as a master, we had our first annual Alvin Lodge car show. Oh, that was great. That was a real good fundraiser that we had. We had a lot of cars, a lot of car clubs that showed up. We had live music, we had food. The community gets to know that there is a Masonic Lodge and what we're about. We all have fun. We were able to get our Order of the Eastern Star involved. We had our demoulet. They set up a booth and they were selling food and they were also making money as a fundraiser.
One of the best things that we do in our lodge, we give a dinner for the widows of Masons. And we try to arrange this on the Saturday before Valentine's Day. And we invite the widows of passed away Masons, and we make a dinner for them. We serve the dinner. They just sit and treated like queens, and each Mason brings a red rose to each of the widows. And they really enjoy it because some of them don't get out very often now. And that's a lodge function that I look forward to, and the brothers look forward to too. And that's probably the most important function I think our lodge does right now.
My husband's name was Henry Franklin Weezy. He was master of the lodge when he passed away.
Miss Weezy's husband was one of the hardest working men that we had in Montgomery 25. He was very devoted to the lodge. He's very famous for being the gentleman that would come and raise the flag every day and bring it back down and retire it every night. Miss Weezy is, we call her the Lady of the Lodge.
After Henry passed away, they were very supportive of me, and one stepped right up and was my worthy patron, and that was really a hard year. But life goes on and we can get through it.
She is one of the most beautiful, strongest Masonic wives that I've ever known.
They're just really a fantastic bunch.
I have seen many instances through the years of, not just for me, for others, other men who were Masons, when they went out of their way to assist another who was in need. Whether it's a injured person at a hospital, someone whose house just burned down, someone who doesn't have a quarter, or a hobo walking down the side of the street, down the side of a highway somewhere that you know doesn't have anything to eat in probability, and no jingle certainly in his pocket with which to purchase some. That's when you pull over and you give them $2 or $3 or $4, or you assist them however that you can.
Well, becoming a Mason has affected me tremendously. And looking back on my grandfather and the way that he treated people, what he did for people, is truly what Masonry is all about. I mean, as far as charity and helping others, helping the widows, helping the orphans. And again, as I was master of the lodge, carrying that further into charity throughout the community.
Well, I will tell you, especially finishing the master's degree, I felt a great fulfillment of a brotherhood of friends that I knew liked me for my ideals and the character that I displayed, and a like group of people to share free time with and get some time away from all the worries of the world and just enjoy ourselves and give back to the community at the same time.
The camaraderie, the people that you meet, Masonry is one of the most fantastic organizations that's ever been.
In college, I was hanging out with, a group of friends. We were working part of this student program we were part of, and had a hangnail, and so it was just really bothering me, and asked some of the guys if they had a pocket knife. One of them brought out this big pocket knife. I was not gonna let him use that to trim my hangnail, but as he reached out and everything, I noticed his Masonic ring. And while we were friends and acquaintances, once I saw the Masonic ring, I knew he was a Mason, and I made a comment about it, and we got to talking, and then I, trusted him to trim my hangnail. To me, Masonry is goodness. It's men that are coming together to be better, to do good in their communities, to be better men and fathers and husbands.
I let Masonry guide me. It takes me where it wants me to go. It's a development of an inward process, and I follow.
Being a Mason to me means honor and heritage and tradition.
Well, becoming a Mason really affected my life in that I really realized the brotherhood that Masons have with each other and the community service that Masons do in the community. And it's gotten me a lot more involved in various activities in the community as part of Masonry.
Becoming a Mason has made me a lot more insightful as a person. It's made me a lot more humble. In those two things, I think it's made it a lot easier for me to interact with people from different backgrounds, because each person you interact with, no matter where they come from, who they are, you can learn something from them.
I am proud to be a Mason. I am extremely proud of it. The friendships that it has helped me develop through the years, the closeness, the ties, means a great deal to me. Being associated with good men is always a pleasure.
With my dad being a Mason, it wasn't just about him being a Mason. It wasn't just about him and his job. It was really a time that we all participated together. It was something that was very much always a family thing.
The main thing for me is what Masonry stands for. You know, there was a lot of misconception about being a religion and what have you. The teachings of Masonry, where you have to believe in a deity outside of organized religion, and in the way that you're supposed to treat your fellow members, brothers. Being a brotherhood, that's really what attracted me. It's the brotherhood. It doesn't matter what your background is. We're all brothers in the lodge.
I think if a young person dedicates themselves to becoming a Mason and spends a little bit of time at the lodge, doing some things with the lodge, I think they're going to enjoy Masonry, and it's going to become a part of their life, because remember, you only get out of something what you put into it.
Being a Mason is what it means to me is being around other Masons and the camaraderie and just the fellowship.
I believe that Masonry means to me the camaraderie of a group of highly respected individuals that come together and bond in the spiritual ritual work and also in the social work.
I love the fraternity and the camaraderie that I'm able to get with people that I wouldn't normally have been able to associate with, which I think that if I were to take one thing away from Masonry and say this is the greatest thing that it's given me, it would be that, the fact that I've been able to associate with some wonderful people.
I thank God for all of my Masons, because they are special people.
What Masonry has done for me is it's made me have a different outlook on life and on mankind. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
And being a Mason has given me the opportunity to grow, to understand that it's really a true fraternity. And if it's nurtured, and if it's given the blood of faith, then we definitely have entered into a fraternity that'll last another 2,000 years. And becoming a Mason is the greatest event in my life, other than the birth of my children.